said that he would finish Anthony Joshua's career. Obviously, Anthony Joshua we've been told that he's got a 2-fight deal with Turki Al Sheikh. If not Huey, who would you like to see AJ facing those two?
I think AJ needs, he's done very well in his career. And, you know, to fight somebody like Huey would be a step down for him because he's got nothing to gain. And then what I mean by that is Huey's got to come back and he's got to beat a good name. Yeah? Then people's going to say, well, hang on, he's beat him, he's back in the mix. Then these things can happen. But first of all, you know, Huey would be climbing up 10 ladders already before. But if that fight happened, of course he'd take it. It'd be like, for Huey, it'd be like winning the lottery, wouldn't it? To take somebody like Joshua now. But he's got to build himself. He's got to build himself, not because he's getting ready, because he's got to fight a name out there. You know, he's been inactive and he's had 3 or 4 mediocre fights, just tick over fights. So he needs a name to get back in the mix.
What other names in the heavyweight division take your fight? We've seen names like Jared Anderson and Dillian White rumoured for Anthony Joshua. Obviously, Dillian White now out of that picture. What heavyweight fight would you like to see Anthony Joshua in? Which name is the top of your list?
Well, whoever the top heavyweights out there, he needs to get back in. I'd like to see him box Dubois again. I don't know. They know what they're doing. So, but good fights. He needs to be in good fights, Joshua. He doesn't want to be cherry picking them because people's going to see what that is. He doesn't need to practice, does he? Do you know what I mean? We only had these fights for Huey because he's 3 years out and he wasn't well. So it's to get his body back in condition, get him boxing again, there's a reason. But Huey, he's ready now for a big fight, really. So I'm sure that Joshua doesn't need to play around. He needs to be in serious fights himself.
And those are the words of Peter Fury. And it is very refreshing to see a father say the honest thing about his son, about his family, about his fighter, as a trainer, as a father. Hey, fighting Huey will be a step down. You know, fighting Huey will be a step down. Why would he want to do that? Huey's been out of the ring for a while. He needs to get himself back. Bars. But he's absolutely right. And it is a great feeling to see someone. It's just music to your ears, truth to your ears, to hear somebody say that type of stuff about their own son. But it's absolutely true. And even when Huey did say that, hey, it was a few months ago, hey, out in AJ's career, I'm like, dude, you ran out of a fight from Michael Hunter for whatever reason. I believe he was sick and he has some type of skin disease. And I became aware of that, people. I didn't know that. But, you know, like his father said, like, no, that's not a fight. Yeah, if it happened, it'll happen because we know AJ comes with the money. If you fight AJ, you're going to get paid because AJ gets paid. So that's that. But realistically, you know, if I'm a coach and I'm a trainer and I'm a person that's looking at this reasonably, you know, Huey has no business being in there with AJ. And that's the truth. In fact, if AJ was to take a fight with Huey Fury, if a fight between Huey Fury and Tyson Fury, and AJ got made, people would call AJ a cherry picker. They would call him 100% cherry picking for taking a fight like that. And I think Peter Fury knows that. I think he understands, like, look, this is for the reasons I don't want this fight, or I wouldn't rally for this fight because it doesn't make sense. You know, if you know boxing, and you know boxers, and you know what's aware and what's going on right now in boxing, yeah, Danny Dubois is probably the fight he does need to fight, especially if Dubois wins, because he has solved, finally, the Usyk problem after the second attempt. You know what I mean? So Usyk wouldn't be a problem anymore. In fact, if Usyk loses, it won't matter if he wins again against Dubois or has a third fight against Dubois. We just know he can be beaten. And then the word will get out that, hey, he is getting older and he's old enough to be beat because we've seen him get beat. Okay, so, you know, he would want Dubois. And Dubois was actually the guy that he was going to fight before all this other stuff came about. The Parker fight or the possible Klitschko fight or the, you know, best fight in the century or whatever, that best card. All of those things were going to stay in place until 258 and Eddie Hearn pulled the plug on the idea of AJ going back in there with Danny Dubois. So, you have to take that for what it is. But no, much respect to Peter Fury, man. I mean, he is without a doubt my number one Fury in the family of Furies. You know what I mean? Because he keeps it real. I've never seen him say something that didn't make sense. I never really even heard him say something that was biased. He's just one of those dudes that tells it how it is, and that's how it should be, people. And you guys tell me what you think of Peter Fury's comments on Anthony Joshua and who he thinks that he should fight, and that is Danny Dubois. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.